I'm going to do a painting from my sketch pad using all of the techniques that we've seen, and very simple equipment. A handful of brushes, 3 brushes, a couple of colour shapers, and 6 or 7 tubes of paint. So you don't need to go out and buy hundreds of different items to start painting. It's very simple. So this is a sketch I thought we'd work up into a painting. A very simple little sketch in a tiny little sketch pad. It's done in sepia, and it took me about 5 or 6 minutes to do. And what attracts me to the scene is the reflection that I'm going to do of this boat and the slipway there in the water down here. So it all ties nicely in together. The foreground ties into this collection of buildings, and I'm going to use all of the tools and the paints that we've used so far to tie this all in together. When you go out sketching like this, it's a good idea to take other viewpoints and put in other bits and pieces in case you should need to add them to a painting later. So I've got a couple of boats here out of the water, 3 boats out of the water, and I can add 1 or 2 of these if I need to. If I need to give some foreground interest, I'll just take this and put it in the painting. So let's get started. I'm painting on a board that's been primed with gesso, as I've said already, and you notice it's a different colour. It's a greyish blue, and the reason that I've done that is because I want to be able to, if I need to scrape back to show the dark areas underneath for masts of boats and things like that. It's easier than trying to paint them on sometimes. It's called sgraffito, and I'm going to maybe need to do a little bit of that. So this is the top area of the sky, which is a greyish colour. I've got 2 or 3 greys mixed, and I'm applying them with a number 10 bristle brush, flat bristle brush. Gradually changing the tone. I want to give the impression of this sky sweeping up, so I'll pull some of the paint up like that, and gradually we're going to change this colour to be a creamy yellow near the horizon. Now I've got the sky in more or less how I want it. Maybe a little more. I'm going to change to a size 6 flat brush and just very, very simply sketch in my buildings where I want the rest of it to be. So I've started the sky, I've done it quickly to get it in while it was there. If you're working out of doors, you have to be this quick. So we've got a boat there, got some trees here, my line of reflections coming down there, that's what I want to put in. Boathouse up here, some trees here which I can blend into the distance, and the foreground rocks or whatever they are will come down across there like that. Some ripples, a couple of posts sticking out of the water just there, and that is it. That's all my sketch that I need to do. My preparation has been done on my sketch pad. This area now is what I've got to attend to, and there's this really bright sliver of light coming down, and it's actually very dense, and I can use it in order to reflect off the water in this area as a sort of a counterfoil to that. I've mixed the grey up with Theo Violet and Phthalo Green and white, and if you get the grey that I'm applying now too blue, then you put a little more Theo Violet in. If you get it too grey or too reddish, you put a little more Phthalo Green in until you get it right. And notice what I'm doing with this. I'm painting the trees in a pale blue. Now, it sounds silly, but they're distant trees, and I don't want to be a camera. I like the idea of being able to mix and match colours to suit what I want to portray. And I'm making the brush strokes go upwards. Trees grow from the roots up. If you put your brush strokes up, they will look like they're really growing. There we are. And get into the habit when you're painting of standing back, or at least stopping what you're doing every so often, just to have a look, see what you've done. This can all be rearranged and changed. The sky can't. The sky I've done. That has to stay. The sky will make or break the painting, and once you've got it right, leave it alone, basically. So there we are. I think once you've got the sky how you want it, and it doesn't have to be accurate, but if it portrays the sense of calm or storm or whatever it is you're trying to portray, then you can carry on with the rest of your image. The trees are there, they're fine. I'm going to just go back to the original colour. I'm painting a little water area here. Either side of this on my sketch I've got a jetty there and a little island here, so let's just get the reflection of that in. Put on with a number 10 brush, a number 10 flat bristle brush. And bristle brushes come in a wide variety of costs. Don't be tempted to buy the cheapest you can find, because it won't last very long. And at this stage, maybe don't be tempted to buy the most expensive you can find either. Go for the middle. Go for a middle priced set of brushes. It will give you years of use and it will do what you want. Cheap ones will not last as long. Okay, so that's my reflection of the sky. Actually, there's a very, very light, bright area just here, which I can put on almost in white. Again, I'm using a number 10 brush. Don't be tempted to use a small brush to start with. Don't fiddle. We're looking for the bold image initially. We can always change it later. Okay, I'm quite pleased with that so far. I'm going to just block in the areas now that I want the buildings to be, not attempting any detail at all. The only thing I can say is more or less finished is the sky, because I don't want to work back into that. I'm using a mixture of raw sienna with just a touch of French ultramarine to reseed it, and I'm not attempting any kind of detail. I don't mind every so often leaving a bit of the board showing through. Actually, the board is quite dark, and where I need a shadow I could just leave the board showing through in certain areas. So I'm bearing that in the back of my mind, and as I get closer to the viewer and closer to us looking at the painting, I'm darkening this colour brown just so that it looks like these buildings are coming towards me. Also, I can put in a little sweep of darker brown where the boathouse is and where that boat is going to be put. Always remember when you're painting to put your bright colours, if you can, against something dark, because that way they look brighter still. It's comparison. It's a way of comparing a shape or an article to its background colour that makes a painting look exciting. So I'm going to darken this area even more now. Down here where my two boats are going, there's a gap in between some buildings and a tree coming out, fanning out. Just going to put it up there like this. I'm not attempting anything at the moment that is at all realistic and finished, because all I need to do is just block in areas. We'll bring the whole painting to a half finished state like this. Then we'll start to look at detail. I've blocked in this area now with simple shapes, and I'm going to block in the water in the same way with basically one colour. It's a colour, the reflection of the cloud above it, and I'm not attempting yet to put in any ripples, any detail, just block in one solid colour. So I'm starting now to scrape back with the wide shaper. I want to give the impression of this jetty coming out, and I'm using the point of this implement to scrape back. Now you can see the reason why I've left this dark area, why I've put the board in a bluey grey rather than in a pale colour, because all of my detail is there. I want to put a window in here, a gable window, put some more detail in, and I'm using a wide colour shaper to do this. I'm not putting in every window pane, and I'm not making it obviously overdone, but it's nice to have a tool like this that I can actually scrape back to show masts. There's a vessel in front of this building with a mast which I can apply. Scrape down, scrape the mast out. One behind, there's a couple of vessels behind, and oops, that one is a bit too wide, so we'll just correct that. Put it back on again. So I think I'll take a brush to that one and just correct that little bit here where we took off a little too much paint. That's it. Nice thing about oils is you can correct your mistakes all the time. So we'll try that again. I'm just going to scrape away a little of the paint in a line, moving the colour shaper down. That's more like it, just to show that there's something there. A couple of masts here coming down, and the boats are now beginning to look as if they're appearing. Underneath the jetty we've got some shadow there. Now I'm going to put the boat in here, the one that actually attracted me to this scene to start with, and I want to make it look really bright. And to make something look really bright, we put it against something that's really dark. So I'm darkening the area where I want my boat to be. And then I shall put the boat in. Right. So with the wide shaper I've just picked up a little ridge of paint. I'm going to put in the boat in two movements, resting the paint on the board like so, sliding it on, and then another one for the stern, like spreading butter upon toast, and tidy up the end. And I want to make this a little bit of an image, so I can just pick out the portholes or any little bits of detail. There we are. Now I want to put the reflection in of this, and I'm using a wide shaper again, just putting in two little ridges and dragging them down, right down to towards the foreground. This will bring the eye in, and the foreground comprises little pebbles and rocks where the water is lapping around, so I'll even put one or two of these little reflections down here in the water. There are a couple of other boats I can do, and I'm not going to put them in such a bright colour because I don't want them to clash with that one. So I'm going to do a pale bluey grey, and we'll put in a couple of boat shapes very easily with these colour shapers. One there. One ought to be underneath this mast. By common sense we ought to have a boat there. And I can use the tip to scrape away underneath if I want to, just to show the boat sitting on something and tidy it up. Same with that one. And also maybe just something here, just to imply that something's happening in this area. There's not a lot there, but I can put in a ridge of paint just to show there's a mast here or something, and tidy that area up. In fact, I can make that into a window. I think we'll put in a couple of windows in this building just to liven things up a bit. Right, I've put in most of the darks here on the foreshore, dark mud and rocks, and it's getting dark, so there's not a lot of colour in here. I've mixed sap green and burnt sienna, and I'm going to leave some of the background showing through. It does look like water, really, in puddles. And there's a little red in too. I've actually added a little cadmium red light to bring this forward, otherwise it's going to look like it's not as far forward. And maybe a couple of paler ones here. As we get further away, I'm just going to make these slightly less dark. So the less dark ones will appear to be further away. Yeah, not to overdo this because it's easy to get carried away with these things. That's enough, I think. So to finish off, I just want a little bright shaft of light coming down there, around here. And with my finger, just blend some of the hard edges on some of this water. And I'm going to draw in a couple of little ripples with the wrong end of a brush, just across there, just to show that the tide's coming in. That's enough. Well, there we are. The trick is with any painting is knowing when to stop. I could go on and do a lot more on this really and tinker with it, but when you start to paint, keep it simple, keep your colours clean, and stop before you get fiddly. This is a secret. I hope I've given you some ideas here. I've shown you some techniques. The exciting thing about oil painting is you can't make mistakes. You can always scrape off what you've done and reapply it, so you've got nothing to lose. Buy some cardboard, buy some gesso, and above all, get out and get painting.
Now available to buy. Try these techniques at home whenever you wish. The extended DVD of today's workshop is now available from the Painting and Drawing channel. For further information and to order your copy, go to www.paintingdrawingchannel.com.